The Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District School Board to order. First item of business is, we'll do introductions first. Online we have Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Macklin. I'm the Addison Northwest School District Representative from North Ferrisburg.
And Steve.
William Biederman, Middlebury. I guess it's, was it WIP?
Gwib.
Steve Rooney from Starksboro, representing MAUSD.
Here's Judd.
Judd.
Go ahead, Judd. Introduce yourself.
Sorry, there was a delay. Judd Markowski, resident of Bridgeport and Workforce Investment Board member.
And Jay. Jay. That's Jay Stetzel, Assistant Director.
So I have to unmute.
Folks, you're muted in my
I
screen.
have to unmute.
The boardroom is muted.
Okay. Jay's also muted.
Go ahead.
Jay?
I'm sorry, I didn't know all board members first. Jason Stetzel, Assistant Director for Research Center.
There's something with his connection.
Yeah.
Okay, and at the table, we have two new members tonight.
Dan Rosignol. I guess I'm the at-large member.
From
And,
Addison Northwest.
yes, Northwest. Yes, Addison Northwest. Okay, so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm Trisha Allen. I'm the at-large member from, no, not at-large.
Not
I'm the
at-large.
rep
You are
from
the ACSD.
ACSD. Sorry.
Welcome. Welcome, folks.
And Suzanne Buck, secondary education training, and what was the third piece? Something. Representative.
Tim Williams, Superintendent, Assistant Director.
Rebecca Goulet, Business Manager. Miranda McDonald, Auditor.
My name is Kim Farnham. I'm from New Haven, and I'm the Community at Large member from the Mount Abraham School District.
Linda Barrett, Clerk.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
And Patrice. Patrice Alexander's here as well.
Tiffany. Patrice Alexander, Administrative Assistant.
And Tiffany.
Hello, everybody. Tiffany Love, Middlebury resident, Workforce Investment Board member.
Very good, thank you very much. At this point, we will take nominations for the chair of the board. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate Suzanne Buck.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Too bad. Any other nominations from the floor?
Don't all jump at once, folks. Come on now.
Hearing none?
Nope, nobody else really wants your job, Susan.
Hearing none, we'll close nominations. All those in favor of Suzanne Buck be re-elected as chair of the Patricia A. Hannaford School Board, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much and congratulations. Happy to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, the next, thank you all, folks. The next piece on the agenda is to elect a vice chair. May I have a motion for, or a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Kim Farnham as vice chair.
Kim has been nominated as vice chair. Is there a second?
I'll second her.
Okay, Bill, are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing and seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of Kim Farnham as vice chair for the PAHCC board, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Kim, you have been re-elected.
With pleasure.
And now we'll take nominations for board secretary.
Nominate Christine Claflin.
Christina, there's been a motion for Christina Macklin for secretary. Is there a second?
Second, Judd.
Second by Judd. Are there any other nominations for board secretary? Man, guess we can't give away our jobs. All right. Hearing and seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of Christina Macklin for board secretary, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. So I will tell the board that Christina has said that this will be her last year. She's already told Addison Northwest that. So people might have to start thinking about who's going to take that job on next year. So, all right. So we will move into the agenda. We have already done the introduction of our board members. I will take a motion to approve the agenda as printed, please.
So moved.
And second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, but I understand that we need to remove the minutes of February 28th, so I would like to amend the motion if possible.
Who made the motion? Who moved it?
Kim?
Do you consent?
Yes.
So the motion has been amended with consent of the motion maker to approve the agenda as printed minus the February 28th, 2023 minutes. Those will be voted on next February 2024. So we'll all have to remember that. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands raised and hearing no voices in the room, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Motion's passed. Do we have any public comment? Is there anybody online, Patrice?
Just Miranda, but she's over there.
Oh, okay.
I thought I would do my presentation, but it's different, so.
Oh, okay. All right. So
I might be able to move you over as panelist and adder. Could I not do that?
Suzanne, are there any more hard copies of the agenda?
Patrice, do you have any more?
You share.
We can share.
Thank you, Patrice. Thank you for your willingness to.
Oh,
So yeah, so when it comes to your presentation piece, we can move you over and you should be able to present,
Yeah.
I think.
I think so.
Okay.
I'll do my best.
All right, so there is no public comment. We have correspondence.
Yeah, it's a donation.
Yep. Is there a letter in here or?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm trying to find it.
I can read it. It's board members of Patricia A. Hannaford Career Center. In the interest of your students in the school, I would like to donate a precision surface grinder to the center. This machine is in fair condition with no known defects, ready to serve as a learning platform in your school. The machine is a Harrod grinder. It is equipped with a 6-inch by 18-inch magnetic chuck and some other miscellaneous hardware for school use. Sincerely, Samuel Trudeau and family.
Great, thank you. We will take that up under action. So we've removed the minutes of February 28th, was minutes of February 16th and March 10th. Are okay with everyone? We can.
Yep.
Gee, no Nick to read the bills. Guess that means I have to do it. Energy project, March 2022 bond issue, totals $1,175, general fund. There are 3 different AP checks sets, $63,351.45 on February 3rd. On February 17th, there was 3. First one's $59,414.86. The second one is for $165.58, and the last one is for $3,246.36 for a total of $126,178.25. Adult education checks on 2/17 were for $243.97. Enterprise revolving fund February 3rd was $2,254.45, and on 2/17 it was $5,973.66, for a grand total of $8,228.11. Student activities, February 3rd, a check was written for $80.75, and then February 17th, $591.55, for a total of $672.30. And then there was 2 payrolls, one February 3rd for $59,486.22, and on 2/17 for $60,358.40, and the totals for that are $119,844.62. And again, I will offer that anybody that would like to join the bill reviewing party, come right on down. Bill, I understood you did it this afternoon before I got there, and thank you. So it's a great learning experience.
Yes, it is.
And it really isn't a party, because normally it's just one person with Allison or one person with Rebecca, so it's, you know, don't look for cookies and ice cream and cake or something, because you won't get that, but you'll at least get to understand the ins and outs of the bills of the Career Center.
When do you usually do it?
When? Every other week. Normally on a Thursday.
It's okay.
And I'm always willing to let somebody else take my spot if they want to. I've done them for a while, so I think maybe the business office would like if Suzanne didn't show up. She's always coming up with something to ask questions on.
Is it always done by 2 people?
Always done by 2 people.
Okay, I kind of feel like I wouldn't mind stepping in. I just want to make sure it's me and somebody else, so there are 2 sets of eyes on it.
So what happens, Tiffany, is that you may not actually end up being there the same time as another board member, but Allison is there and Rebecca is typically around. Unless Tim has her tied up doing something else, then she can't answer questions. But, so there's always somebody around that can answer your questions. And sometimes another board member may have been in before you, and sometimes you might be the first one through. So, but there's always 2 board members.
Well, but the process is more organized. I know that the time that I did do it, I was able to follow because of the way that it was organized. So I feel like the new process that was put in place over the last year really makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's very well organized. Some days there's a lot more to review than there are others. Today was one of them. So yeah, so people just think about it, you know, it's not a committee responsibility, it's just here, get to know more about the Career Center responsibility.
So can we have a number of people on it and we just kind of rotate through?
So everybody on the board is, has permission to review the bills. I know that Allison normally tries to send it out to like a few that have been doing it for a while, and then when someone can't show, then she sends it out to the rest of the board. I can have her send it out to the whole board if you would like, and I mean, I don't know. How many board members would you like rolling through to check on bills?
No, I'm just saying if somebody can't be there every other week, if there are other folks that can fill in.
Yeah.
I mean, she did say that today was kind of heavy. It was more bills than usual.
It is. The stacks were a lot deeper. But
Are these actual paper stacks?
They are right
oh yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Suzanne, I have a question, a couple questions.
Proceed.
One is, can you go any time of the day on Thursday? And my second, it's not really a question, is a thought. Maybe we could put a monthly schedule together or a quarterly schedule and people could sign up. Because it's easier to commit ahead of time, you know, like
Right.
down the road than 2 days down the road. So it's just an idea.
Yep.
So I can answer the question. Generally, they're ready Thursday morning. And the business office hours are 8 to 4. So during that time frame would work for us unless we know ahead of time that we need to make other hours available. So we can certainly work with the board if we want to involve more people or just have more backups, because it is nice to be able to just call somebody out sometimes and it takes the burden off of everybody.
At one,
I have a suggestion.
Steve, yeah,
Like the bills were ready today, potentially,
Yeah, we're ready
and
this morning.
that's why Bill stopped in.
Yes.
Would it be possible to arrange to bring them to like this meeting and have everybody sort of have a educational session?
oh,
All of us at once, so we all kind of hear the same spiel one time, and then basically after that, we could all be put on a schedule and rotate.
I'd be happy to do some type of professional development for the board around that, if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be useful for all of us to know anyway, and that way we would, all you wouldn't have to repeat the lesson.
It would help keep the questions down from Allison,
Yeah,
so she can actually do her job, but she couldn't while I was there.
Retreat.
Yeah.
Or does it have to be done at a regular board meeting?
I think,
It can be done at any time.
Professional
Yeah.
development,
Yeah,
and we can do it after a meeting.
or meeting, so it's not.
Yeah, it could be a sample example. It doesn't necessarily have to be the bills for that month. It could be just an example set up there.
Yeah, one way or another, we'll figure out a good way to do it.
and I know back to Christina, your idea about the schedule, Austin at one point had, like an email that, or he set up a reminder in our board calendars so that, a couple days before, on the Thursday that they were ready to be done, it would pop up saying bills or whatever he called it, so that we all knew that, oh, the bills are ready this week. And so it was another way of reminding people that, to make sure to come in. But-
Yeah, I think back when there was the old Mount Abe High School board, they assigned board members each month.
Well, we will figure it out. We'll bring back to the board some thoughts on it, and maybe it'll appear either at a board meeting or at a retreat, depending on how we make things work. How's that sound?
Right?
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move into action agenda. We do have the donation of the Herrig, is that, am I saying it right? Herrig grinder from Sam Trudeau and family. May I have a motion to accept that donation, please?
Motion
Don,
to accept.
is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Don to accept the Herrig grinder from Sam Trudeau and family, and it was seconded by Kim. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I'm assuming that this will be useful to the Career Center.
Oh, yeah.
Is,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we don't want to take on something that's just going to take up space.
Right.
And I don't really know what it does, so.
Right.
Other
Yeah.
than it
But
grinds.
I will take
Grinds.
your word that this is
Grinds,
a,
yeah.
this is a benefit.
Something's been.
It's something they'll definitely use.
Okay.
And we'll need to get an
It's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
And we'll need to get an estimated value of it so that we can determine whether it goes on fixed assets or not.
And we will also make sure, I'm presuming that a thank you note goes out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a means to ship it? I mean,
they're delivering it.
oh.
No?
Yeah. And it'll be in the manufacturing lab shop.
Didn't we go over one time trying to evaluate a donation and we decided we didn't do that or we don't do
Yeah.
that? Or
I am not in favor of making determinations about value of donations because we're not in the business of assessing the value of equipment. What Rebecca was talking about is, does it meet the threshold to determine whether it belongs in the fixed asset database or not?
No,
So that's what she's referring to.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people who donate things to us want us to place a value on it, and I'm not interested in getting in that game. We're not experts in that field. That's their value of their donations between them and the IRS. We want nothing.
That was
do
going to
with
be my question.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other comments, questions, discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands raised and hearing no voices in the room, we'll proceed to vote on the acceptance of the Harry Grinder from Sam Trudeau and family. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Board monthly meeting schedule. Say that 5 times fast. So we have been meeting, well, since September. We had moved, September we moved our meetings to the 3rd Thursday. And September or October somewhere, we moved the meeting time to later, which we have found that if we want to go back to having students come, it doesn't work for students because then they have to come back out or interrupt their homework or whatnot. So it has been suggested that we move permanently our board meetings back to 5 o'clock, but my question is, does the 3rd Thursday still work for people, especially our newer members? Or do we need to re-look at a new night?
Works for me.
I have no objections.
Okay. People online? I see a thumb up, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Suzanne, are you suggesting we're gonna look for student reps to join the board, and that's why we're changing to 5?
We're looking to bring back the students as they talk about their programs.
Similar to the FFA presentation.
Right, like the FFA presentation that we had changed the time of the meeting so that they could come. Remember we had done that for a while, we were rolling culinary and everybody through, and the students came and did the whole presentation, so it makes it really difficult for them being later at night. So.
Great, thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt that date and time, please?
So moved.
And second, Judge?
3rd Thursday of the month.
3rd Thursday and 5 o'clock.
So it's been moved and seconded, I believe, to have our meetings the 3rd Thursday of every month at 5 p.m. Is there any further discussion, or? I see no hands raised and I see nobody jumping up and down here. So I'll say we'll proceed to vote on the motion of our board meetings being the 3rd Thursday of the month at 5. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion's passed. The most important part of the meeting, appoint board committees and set their dates and times. So our standing committees are changing a little bit. Facilities, and that's been a really active group because you guys have all that $8.1 million worth of work you have to get done by when, Steve Rooney?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
I did. That's all gonna be done by when?
The end of the summer?
I think so. And so that's one group, and that group currently has been chaired between Steve Rooney and Judd Markowski, correct?
Yeah.
And then I've sat on it. Steve Orsic has been on it, and I don't remember if Nick Costin is actually a member or if he just likes to hang out with us.
Nick's a member.
Okay, so that's that group. So they get to oversee the facilities and the bond and everything. Then we have another group, this budget. And they get to work with superintendent, business office people, and they help put together the budget in the fall, and they offer suggestions, and then after the budget gets passed, then it's looking again at the approved budgets that we've been working on and saying, you know, how are we doing, have the grants come in and things like that. So that's a budget committee. And
It's
then
also budget and policy, isn't it?
it's separating.
Oh, you're separating them. Okay.
They're parting the ways.
I
It's
see.
it's gonna be a very sad day. And then we're gonna have policy, which is quite literally looking at policy. How do we govern the Career Center? How do we govern ourselves? What our roles and responsibilities are? So those are gonna be the 3 committees. Community engagement will become ad hoc, so as administration says, we need some help, they'll bring back the ad hoc for specific purposes. Do we need any?
What about negotiations?
Oh, yes, thanks. You weren't supposed to remember that one, Steve Rooney. Yes, we do we have to negotiate this year. We have 2 contracts. We'll have the teachers and the staff. And sometimes they are the same group that negotiates, sometimes they aren't quite the same group. Judd did a fabulous job negotiating the teacher's contract. He was the lead negotiator last time. Kim took the staff. Suzanne was a sucker and sat in on both. So there's that committee as well. And that committee will hopefully just be like a 1-year commitment, or maybe, depending on how things go, it might even be just like a fall commitment or a spring commitment. It all depends on the length and time of the negotiation period. And you want to say?
Suzanne?
Yes?
I got a quick question for you. Community engagement as an ad hoc group, what do you mean by that? Because I see community engagement as something that's fairly critical if you're trying to get your numbers up.
I can address that.
Sure, I'll let you take that.
Board committees are structured in such a way that the committees are there to make recommendations to the full board.
Mm-hmm.
There are no recommendations that are going to come out of a community engagement committee to the full board for action. So a community engagement committee would be necessary for things like when we're gearing up for open houses or something like that, to work on that kind of thing, which doesn't require, nor should require, board action. So board committees, standing board committees, are there to recommend action to the full board. And in the whole time I've been here, community engagement's never recommended any action to the full board. Because by nature, there's no action the board should be taking on community engagement. So that's why it should be an ad hoc committee. Just like negotiations is an ad hoc committee for a special purpose, it doesn't make recommendations to the full board because they're immersed in negotiations. There should be no recommendations until the very end, when it's time to either approve or not approve a negotiated agreement. So that's the reasoning there.
So Tim, to put it in sort of a slightly different slant, it's really ad hoc, meaning the committee would be formed if there's a task that the board determines it needs to work on.
Right.
Like the upcoming
for a very specific time period with a specific deliverable.
So
as opposed to a standing committee that's kind of just continuously working all year round on whatever comes up in its purview.
Right, so like policy committee, for example, would deliberate over policy and make recommendations to the full board as to act on revising a policy or establishing a policy or revoking a policy or retiring a policy. Those are things that would happen in the policy committee to make a recommendation to the full board.
Right. So if it was determined by the board for some reason that we're lacking in an ownership linkage plan, how the board determines how its ownership feels it should be addressing the ownership's concerns or priorities for the center. This is an issue that Mount Abe has been working on. We don't have necessarily a great ownership linkage plan right now, so our community engagement committee has been charged with putting that together and bringing that back to the board for approval. So there's a specific task that they've been charged with.
Right.
Rather than just instead of acting as an ownership linkage directly, which I can see being a conflict with the board's work. It's a team that's put together to help the board do something that it's supposed to do as part of its governance requirements to link with its ownership.
Like the engagement committee did the vision and mission statement. So we brought in a large group of people, we did surveys and whatnot, and then we brought to the board vision and mission statement, and then the board negotiated and talked about it and finally accepted it. So that was something that community engagement group had taken on. So a task that they might take on or be given might be when Dr. McTavish joins us, they might work on a big publicity piece to welcome her to the community and to maybe do an open house so people can come meet her or something.
One other thing Mount Abe is working on right now, because we're considering forming some new committees, is revisiting the charges for the committees that we have, making sure there is an actual written charge and that it's placed somewhere that, and that we can review them on an annual basis.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's something where I don't know if the charges for these standing committees that we have are written into the charter, or whether they're something that are part of the record of the committee.
Well, the community engagement one we could never find, and we did try to put one together, but budget and policy, I believe, is written into the governance policy somewhere. There's a description, as well as facilities, I believe, there's a description there as well. But we can go back through and find them, and then bring them. If we can find them by the next meeting, we could bring them out.
Yeah, it might be good just to revisit them and see.
Yeah, revisit them. So that being said, I know that facilities is supposed to be meeting like a little over a week from now. Does everybody on facilities want to stay there? Do you want to move?
Well, two of the members obviously we can't hear from.
Right.
I'm fine with staying on the committee.
I am as well, but Steve Orzek had comments about changing the time. Personally, I don't mind the time. It helps me have a meeting and then still be able to get to work. But I want to be receptive to Steve Orzek's challenges if he has any. So if he does still want to be on the board, I don't know if he's able to chime in.
So how about this? I will reach out to Steve if he still wants to be on facilities. We'll have to come up with a time, and since he's not here and Nick's not here, I don't know if Nick still wants to be on that committee. So you might have to do your March 27th still at 7:30.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine for the committee to change the time and date on its own once we meet again.
And you'll have to determine your chairs, or co-chair, or chair model, however you want to do it. So there's 4 people on that. I'd like to try to evenly spread out on the regular standing committees, the board. And then some of you will have to do double duty, because some of you will have to sit on the negotiations committee. So, do I have any takers for budget?
I'm interested.
Kim?
I can do budget or policy, wherever.
How
makes more sense to slot me in.
about, you can tell me, Tim, what your thoughts are, but what about if we put at least our 2 newest board members on policy?
Sure.
And then add a third, whoever wants to.
Hold our hands.
I'd be interested in continuing on policy. I feel like I have a little more to offer there than on budget.
Okay.
I was gonna say the same thing, Judd.
So Judd,
Everybody wants to be on policy.
Judd's on facility.
Hey Judd, do you mind if I put you on negotiations?
Oh, yeah, okay, sure.
All right, so Judd, you have 2 committees. You have facilities and you have negotiations. Policy, we have Tricia, and Dan, and Christina.
And that would be a good way to immerse yourself quickly
Yeah.
into.
Will?
Suzanne, are most of these committees meeting in person or on Zoom or both?
They do both.
Okay.
Will, would you like to do budget?
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, Suzanne, I think it would help for me, someone like me, to know like where are all the committees? Because as you're going through this list, I don't know what all the committees are, so I don't know like which one would I be best suited for. I mean, I might have missed it. It's probably literally on the agenda, so I apologize if I
No.
overlooked it. But
No, I verbally gave a description.
Okay.
So budget is the group that builds the next year's school budget with administrators. And then when they're not doing that type of work, then they're reviewing the budget and talking about grants and things, and are we overspent here, or where are we with the budget?
I'd be happy to volunteer for that one.
You want to try that one? Okay,
Yes, thank you.
sounds good.
Is there a set time for these meetings? Because that, I should have probably should have asked that question first to make sure it doesn't conflict with Addison Northwest too.
So, all I can tell you is where they have been meeting. So, when budget and policy were hanging out together, they both met, I think it's like the third Tuesday at 4:30. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Because obviously now that we've split those two up, you can't both meet at the same time. Because Tim can only be at one spot. I mean, he's really good, but I can't have him run back and forth between rooms.
Well, and the administrative liaison for budget will be Rebecca.
Right.
And I'll be administrative liaison for
Okay.
policy.
So they could meet at the same time.
I guess they could meet at the same time.
Technically could.
The trick is really just to set an initial meeting that everybody goes to, and then the committees work out what's the best meeting time for the members afterwards.
So would budget people and policy people, would you like to keep the 21st at 4:30 and then you guys can figure out from there? Since that one is already a warned meeting time?
Yeah.
Is that gonna be an issue if we go online?
Yeah.
It's the only.
Two separate meetings.
Gonna-
Well, Rebecca can run one.
Can you
Yeah,
do
and
that?
we can take the policy committee fully online. So that,
Really?
sure.
We
I
could do the
mean, we're allowed to
budget,
do that, right?
Budget
Yeah.
too. I mean, really.
This time of year, I think when you're building the budget, it'd be better to be in person, but
Yeah, I would do
For
that one in
updates.
person. But policies, all we're looking at is a screen all the time.
That's right, reading and
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah.
So policy could end up being completely online.
And I know, Rebecca, as we move into negotiations, the budget is a really important piece. Going, do we have that coming? Or not?
Yeah.
Thank you.
generally in the past, I sat with the negotiations
Good, thank you.
Okay.
to provide that insight.
Thank you very much.
So is
So-
there a problem with us being on the 21st? The policy?
Yeah, we'll make a determination at that meeting about how we're gonna split and what the dates and times will be. for
So
this.
it sounds like the group of Kim, Will, Tiffany, and Tricia, Dan, and Christina will all be meeting on the 21st, and then you guys will determine your respective committee meetings, dates.
Is that March 21st?
Yes.
Next Tuesday.
I am gonna be presenting, what time of day, I'm sorry?
3:30? Where are you gonna be,
Oh, I
Tiffany?
might be able to, okay.
Okay. I don't wanna stress you out, Tiffany. Okay, because
Sorry.
Sorry. So on,
So one thing to check,
yeah,
these committees are public meetings,
right.
so they have to have a physical location.
No, they don't.
No, the state did their thing.
The state waived it for
another year or something, so that as long as the
Yeah,
public
I'll be
has.
in Chicago, so I definitely can't be in person.
Right,
No,
so as long
no,
as
no,
the
no, no,
public
not that you
has
have to meet in person, but somebody in the Zoom meeting has to be at a location where the public can attend.
No, as long as they have a Zoom link.
Not anymore, I don't, or not for this year.
Right, for,
I
they
don't-
Okay.
extended it for another year, so as long as there's a Zoom or a Google Meets link that the public can participate through, you don't have to have someone in a physical location. So, okay, so I've got, again, policy, I have Tricia, Dan, and Christina. And then for budget, I have Kim, Will, Tiffany, and I bet you Nick is gonna be on that.
I would just put it.
Okay, we'll just stuff him there.
He's not here.
He's not here.
And then for facilities, Steve R, Judd M. I'll put Steve O with a question mark. And then for negotiations, we might as well just keep the same crew unless somebody really else wants to join the pain. It's Judd, Suzanne, Kim, and Steve Rooney. Does that work? Because I have the two different chairs, so Kim did staff and Judd did teachers.
We'd love to train someone to join us.
Does that sound okay, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Okay, and that group probably will have a meeting at some point after Dr. McTavish joins us, and then we'll start from there. Okay? All right, great. Looks like we get our committees. And I will look in all the old policies to find if there is any descriptions or charges for facilities, budget, and policy. If not, we'll charge each group with it. Patrice?
Can you send that to me? So I can take it?
Yes. Yeah. All right, monitoring policies. I think that's Rebecca.
So, as we know, under policy governance, we monitor the policies as we go throughout the year. So this.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yep.
Um,
Can you hear?
the committees thing was an action item. Do we have to motion and vote and all that stuff?
No, I think it's the board chair's prerogative to establish committees and place people on them.
Oh, I see it. Board chair authority. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right, that's all right.
And I hate to throw this in there, but for Dan and Christina, I am just realizing I have a previous commitment this coming Tuesday, the 21st, at 4:15 to 5:15. So I would not be able to attend that 4:30 meeting. Still go with it, and I won't be there for the first meeting, or?
Yeah, if you could let me know via email what kinds of days work best for you.
Yeah.
That would be helpful when we determine when we're gonna meet.
Sure.
Okay. Does anybody else have any issues with the 21st that were on budget or policy? We know Tiffany's in Chicago, but Tiffany's really pretty good about trying to log on wherever she is. So, all right. I don't see any hands raised, so we're going to go back to policy 2.1.
Sure. So this policy just really outlines the expectations of the executive limitations for the financial planning and budgeting of the district. And it just goes through to talk about that we will honor the board's approved budget, we will do everything to keep us out of financial jeopardy, and we will abide by laws and regulations. One of the things we talk about in this policy is making sure that we mitigate as much risk as we can, whether it's from an insurance standpoint or a financial control standpoint or other things. So we are continually working on those. One of the things we did this year was we looked at the financial controls earlier on, so that was one of the things that we'll continue to do. One of the other things that we do is to make sure that we are not spending above our means and making sure there's procedures in place. things like purchase orders and making sure we have the cash flow and those types of items. So we will continue to do that, and we won't modify any of those policies and procedures without bringing them to the board's attention. We may make suggestions from time to time. Things like cash receipts, how that's handled. When we get cash receipts, they're counted. We're establishing, someone different brings it to the bank and prepares the deposit, and putting in those controls and trying to be creative with the small staff that we have. So that's really important, and we are working to always improve that. And then just basically keeping the board informed of changes throughout the year. Whether we're overspent in a certain line item or underspent, or a grant came in, we're revising a grant. Just basically keeping abreast of things that are moving targets throughout the year. And a lot of that's done through the budget meetings.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Rebecca? Judd's waving his head no. Anybody in the room have any questions? Okay, I'll take a motion to accept policy 2.4, financial planning and budgeting.
Move, Judd.
Moved by Judd, is there a second?
Second.
Tiffany, second?
Give it to Tiffany.
Tiffany seconded it, so it's been moved and seconded to approve policy 2.4, financial planning and budgeting. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Everyone here is shaking their head no. Anybody online? No? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Oh, now we get to the fun part of the agenda, the informational time.
She's awake.
So we're going to start our informational piece with our auditor presentation.
All right.
And I believe we have a slideshow or something.
It's just a PowerPoint or PDF. I just pulled a couple pages directly from the audit.
Can we,
We're getting her on.
okay.
Was this a standard audit or for cause or?
It's a standard yearly audit,
Okay.
required by law.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are different levels of audits. We don't do a single audit on the federal grants because we don't hit the threshold for that. This is regular audit required by the AOE.
Can you, you have to allow me to share my screen.
I thought I did. Or not?
I haven't had supper yet, my stomach's growling.
Now try it.
I did.
All right.
Oh, something's coming everywhere. People online, can you see that? Judd's got a thumbs up, so I'm guessing everyone can see it then, all right.
So I'm assuming y'all received the actual audit, or was it sent out to y'all at all? Okay, sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So my name is Miranda McDonald, audit manager for RHR Smith and Company, and this was my second year doing the Hannaford Career Center. Last year I did it online, and my boys with their scout uniforms
That's right.
had logged on. They're actually at a scouting event right now. In person, so it's definitely improving. So the most important question that people usually ask is, what's the opinion of the audit? This can be found on page 1 in the second paragraph. In our opinion, the financial statements referenced above present fairly in all material respects. Old school, this was an unmodified opinion, so you got a clean audit this year. I've included the front page of the management's discussion and analysis found on page 5 in the audit. If you don't want to read the whole 90 pages, which there's lots of good information in there, but if you don't, I understand. at least read the management's discussion and analysis. It gives a good summary of what happened during the year. It touches on actuals and budget, brings in capital assets and your debt. So it's just a good summary of what happened. It's usually not more than 10 pages.
We'll assign Nick to that.
Oh, Nick,
Because
I'm
he's
sure.
not here.
He's already ready.
Probably read it already.
So this brings us to statement C, found on page 15 of your audit. And the second question we get most often is, what's my fund balance for general fund? So this can be found in the first column under general fund. And let's see. I can zoom in.
And it's better.
Ah, I can read it.
Yeah. So this can be found first column almost all the way down. And so your total fund balance for your general fund was about $400,000 at the end of the year. This is about an $8,000 increase over FY21. Of this $405,000, $15,000 is you can't spend it. It's already been spent. Is prepaid. Usually that's insurance, or you've paid in advance for like travel or something like that. And then the $75,000 that was assigned was to be utilized for your FY23 budget. So you've already utilized that piece of the fund balance, and then which leaves $315,000 unassigned fund balance for the year. The next column over is going to be your BERF account, your Building and Equipment Reserve Fund. As you can see, there's about $288,000 in FY22, and what was voted on in March of 22, y'all transferred about $224,000 into the BERF account. So you can see that in your fund balance. The third column is your energy project. This is your bond, your big bond, $8.1 million. There's only $1.8 million because these statements are as of June 30th, and y'all didn't actually sell the bonds until August. But you did borrow in anticipation of selling those bonds. You borrowed about $2 million to start out the projects, and you spent, I guess, a little over $100,000. So you do have a fund balance of 1.8 in the energy project fund. The next fund is your Rogers Scholarship Fund of $415,000, and then the next is other governmental funds. That's going to include your special revenue funds, such as the Perkins Grant, the GEAR Grant. It's also going to include other scholarship permanent funds that you'll have. So it's lumped together in one column, but the schedules breaking all of that out are in the back of the audit. So you can actually go see the detail for each special revenue fund that you do have, and for some other permanent funds that you have as well. And then the next page.
Miranda?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question about the unassigned fund balance under total government funds?
Yeah.
Oh, under other governmental funds.
Yes.
So minus 49.
So that means there's some special revenue funds that were overspent than what was actually collected. I don't think it's a lot, but there are a few that just, and I would say that's probably more cleanup work that needs to be addressed. I think like in Perkins, if I remember correctly, it was overspent by $1,000 something. So you have a lot of small grants that just were overspent, and so the fund balance is actually negative. Usually, if that's the case, what I say, clean it up. It's usually a general fund transfer into the special revenue just to clean it up and make it whole. sometimes, and I'd have to go back and do the research, you know, make sure that they've actually requested all the funds that are owed to them. So in a fourth quarter or final report, maybe there were some expenses that just didn't get captured and they need to go back and request those funds, but because it's the end of the fiscal year, it has to go to a negative, and then you'd recognize the revenue in the next year.
I see.
With that. Okay?
Any other questions
Anything else?
before she goes on? I can't see the hands raised. Okay.
And then the last statement, statement E, I believe 17 of the audit. This just shows your revenues, expenditures, and then changes in your fund balance that we see. So this first column, your general fund, you had about $4 million in revenue. Obviously, most of that's going to be tuition and also state revenue, what the state gives you for and various grants coming in. You have about 3.8 in expenditures, leaving you with about 256,000, and then y'all had voted to move about $249,000. 224,000 went into the BRF fund. You can see that in the second column. And then $25,000 went into the health reserve fund. That's shown in the special revenue and the schedules in the back. But you can see that in the second to last column as well. So for general fund, you did increase your fund balance by about $8,000 to give you that 405. The BRF fund increased by $200,000 for the 288,000, and then the energy project fund, you can tell you had about $158,000 in expenditures, and then the $2 million in bond proceeds that y'all received. The Rogers fund there's no activity, so it remains at $415,000, and then your other governmental funds, you have about $172,000. So overall, I'd say you're in pretty good shape with your financials.
Now, this isn't a audit question necessarily, but we've already repaid the $2 million advance on the bond. Is that correct?
I would say yes. You sold your bonds in August of 2022, so of the 8.1 that you sold, you paid back the $2 million. And
Right, so this is just how it stood back when
Right.
back when the
Correct.
fiscal year ended.
Correct. This is as of
Yep.
June of 2022.
Yeah, okay.
The last day of June, not June 1st.
June 30th.
Right.
Yes.
I just
June
wanted
30th.
to make sure that they were clear on what part of June this was of.
Yep. Okay, so with the audit, we also usually give a management letter, and this is just, things we've come across, best practices, we recommend. And I understand, this was my second year auditing, but y'all had a lot of transition. And so if it was hard on y'all, it was hard on us as well with the audit. And what I would say is during that time period, I believe there was a schedule of priorities of these are the processes we have to get done. We have to pay employees. We have to pay our bills. We have to reconcile the bank accounts. So, reconciling the general ledger probably fell to the bottom of it, but I have full confidence in Rebecca that, she was just hired a month ago, which I know we've already had conversations of making sure your internal controls are in place, and she is going to do her best to make sure the cleanup is done through the transition time period. And so as of June 30th, reconciling those general ledger accounts will be done in time for the audit. But this was just one of the things that I said, yeah, we really need to work on this for, and this was as of FY 22. So I would just like to say thanks to Tim and Jay and Rebecca and Mark and Casey and Allison and Patricia and there's one other gentleman I'm missing. Shane, for all of their help in getting this audit done, and I look forward to FY23s.
Thank you. Board, any questions, comments? Trying to see if I can see any hands online. I don't think I see any.
Just thanks for your hard work. Thanks for dealing with all of the challenges.
It was also very nice to see parts of this in the report this week. So,
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
I'm just, with the changeover in the accounting software, Miranda and,
Rebecca?
yes, thank you. Are you anticipating that to be like a huge undertaking that's gonna present its own challenges? Or I know it's been an issue for other school districts, this whole changeover situation with the accounting system and.
Christina, they're both biting their lips, so I'm not sure that.
I think I addressed it briefly in my report.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
I've been
I saw
working,
that.
the state has sent out documentation that they are not continuing on with e-finance, so that's off the table for us.
Yeah.
We could go on to it for free for 2 years, and then I don't know what's gonna happen, but the software is not adequate, and the auditor is shaking their head that, no, you don't want that.
Yeah, Mount Abe unfortunately started down that road and wasted a bunch of time, so.
Yeah, exactly. So we are on a product right now called ADS Pro Fund, which Miranda's also familiar with, and we've had a couple conversations about it. And while it's adequate, they're no longer updating that software, so they're evergreen, they're kind of phasing it out, so there's kind of a sense of urgency. With school software, we used to have a lot of options, but one company, Tyler Technology, has bought up a lot of the smaller ones. And with them, we have the opportunity to have an evergreen, so we wouldn't have to pay for certain modules, we'd have to pay for conversion, and if we wanted different modules. So I've been researching with Michelle Richardson from Tyler Technology and have a couple proposals. I've also asked to get a list of all the people in the state that are currently using the product. Our audit firm will give us a letter of support to bring that to the board, and possibly, you know, if I can find other companies that are used in the area to get pricing just for comparison, I certainly will. Tyler Technologies is extremely busy with people converting back over now from eFinance and other softwares. So the soonest we could get on it is April 1st of 2024, which is a horrible time to transfer. My recommendation would be to secure a spot for July 1st, 2024. Any software conversion is difficult. I have converted to this software before in a previous role, and I feel very comfortable with it. So it'll be a lot of manpower, but it's not like we'll be walking into the unknown. And I think the product itself will help with a lot of internal controls. You can set up workflows, and we won't have so much paper floating around, which will be really nice. So I think in April, I'll work with Tim and we'll bring together something for the board to maybe have an action item on. But that's kind of where we're at right now. I'll let Miranda pipe in if she's wants to.
I mean, I think you covered it. I agree. Any software conversion is a lot of work, having been through a couple myself. But, you know, like Rebecca said, she used it in a previous position, so she understands if you go with Infinite Visions, which is the dominant software out there for school districts right now. Most of our Vermont school clients, if they're not on eFinance, they're on Infinite Visions. And I highly agree, do not go to eFinance. I can't emphasize that enough. It's a cash-based software, and y'all need modified accrual. So, and yeah, but I've been through conversions and we're here to help. Rebecca, I know there's only 2 people in the office, but I think in understanding the software and knowing what you're transferring to is going to be a huge help when doing any software conversion.
Do the people in Maine use that system also, or what do they? 'Cause I know you guys work in Maine too.
I don't actually do, the school districts that I know of in Maine actually use Munis, which is a Tyler Technology product, but it's, and I love Munis. It's actually, but it's a very large software
Okay.
and very expensive. A lot of the municipality uses a software called Trio.
Yeah, I've heard of Trio.
It just, I don't know of a school district in Vermont that actually uses Trio.
Okay.
So, and like Munis was in Vermont, I converted it when I was at CVSD, but then it's eFinance, Infinite Visions, and then there's a few smaller one-offs. I think one district still on NIMRIC that I know of.
Yeah, we don't want to be on that.
No.
So, and I think, as Miranda said, Munis would be overkill for something our size and unaffordable. Correct, I agree with that.
All right. Online, anybody have any questions?
Not for me.
In the room?
Y'all are very happy.
Where am I from?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I live in South Burlington, but I am originally from Texas.
You got it.
Couldn't
County six.
Couldn't tell it
County
from the
six.
South. It's really calmed down since you got here like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's true.
I knew you
I
were
would
when you
actually
first got
agree
here.
with that. I would actually agree with that.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So board members, you had lots of other reports to look at, browse through. Any comments, questions, concerns? Steve?
Budget, on budget and policy, my name is misspelled in
I'm sorry.
approving your minutes.
So sorry.
Not bad.
Nobody has anything to talk about? My goodness. Those reports must have been super duper. They must have anticipated every question you guys were gonna come up with.
As always, it's really great to see all the information about the students. I just want to say that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the instructors are really, thank you, the instructors are really good about sharing that out. Because sometimes I wouldn't know about some of the stuff that they weren't sharing, because so many different things are going on. So thank you for that.
They even share it on Facebook
Yeah.
before it gets to your reports.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just hope it's
Well,
appropriate.
Yes.
Tim, you'll be pleased to know that I forwarded your format to Patrick Green, and we're doing that at Mount Aid now.
Oh, okay, cool.
So he's generating weekly reports, they're compiling and putting them into a monthly, and it's been hugely successful.
So is that why he's not talking to me anymore?
Ouch!
I'm joking.
No, but it's really been well received, so.
Good.
Good. Well, maybe if they're so well received, maybe you'll get, what, 4 more board members?
We got, we've managed to find one more so far.
One more? So, I know this isn't part of our agenda, but who is the Mount Abe board chair?
The board chair is Krista Ringo.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we just had our first meeting on Tuesday, really well.
Good, okay. All right, so nothing on the board reports, no questions? Okay. So Patrice, is there anybody on now for public comment?
Brenda Logie.
Just, so this is our second public comment period, and it's something that we are gonna have moving forwards on our board agendas. So the first public comment is for items that are on the agenda. And then the second one is so that you can comment again about items that were on the agenda, or if there's something else that general public would like to bring to the board's attention. So if we have any hands raised from,
She has them too.
okay, you would need to move her over to panelist so that she can speak, and then you move her back after she's done. Brenda? Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, I apologize for my late arrival. I thought the board meeting started at 6, so I thought I was 5 minutes early, not 55 minutes late. But anyways, thank you for taking my comment. I just have a comment and a question, actually. I just wanted to say that I think the public comment guidelines that are outlined in the agenda are really good. And I appreciate the board creating and posting them on the agenda. I just wanted to make that comment. And then my related question is, in the future, if someone, wait, I'm gonna undo my video just out of courtesy. Okay, I realized that was off. If someone, whether an employee or a general public person, did have a question or a concern for the board regarding the 3 categories, personnel, students, or legal matters, what would be an appropriate, acceptable way for the person to express their question or concern to the board?
So there are policies regarding such things. So say if a parent has an issue with something that's going on in their child's classroom, the first place for them to go would be to have that conversation with the teacher. And then if they don't find success there, then they would go to the administration, to Tim.
No, to the assistant director.
To the assistant director, then to Tim. And then if there's still no solution, then they may then write and approach the board in executive session. And that's pretty much how some of these things go. There are policies in place for how they're approached.
Okay, so that would be if the person was a parent of a student. What about other categories of people, like general public, community member, employees of the Career Center, other people?
So again, if it's employees, it's the chain of command that they need to work their way through. If it's a community member that has an issue with, say, a staff member or something, I would suggest that,
Same kind of process.
Same process.
Start with admin, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The board is a quasi-judicial board, so that we are like the last stop. We should never be brought in as the first stop, because then any hearing pieces that may need to occur or might need to occur, we've now been kind of put in jeopardy of being that unbiased body.
Right, very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. And typically in public comment, it's not a point where there's a give it back. But I did do that. In governance, it's the public comment period is a time for the board to listen and to hear what the general public has to say, but it's not to interact back and forth. But I felt that that was something that needed to be addressed. So for our new board members, we'll move on to policy 4.1, governing style. Whoops. Yes.
I want to recognize Christina's work at the flower show, which was fantastic. Christina, again, how many people you think attended?
We're estimating about 13,000 people.
Thank you. Thank you. And the inclusion of the Hannaford Career Center group that came up and assisted in setting it up. And Kelly put some great pictures on her site, and they've shared those, I think, with the Hannaford Career Center site. If not, that would be a really good place for her to put it. But they were there during the whole set up, and it appears they not only enjoy themselves, but learn a lot. But thank you for including them.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and I really sort of thank Kelly for bringing the students. They had a blast, and they were great helpers, and they got the inside look into what it's like to build a 15,000 square foot indoor landscape in 2.5 days. So, yeah,
it was beautiful, but thank you.
Yep. Thank you. That's one thing we left off. Well,
She is the chairperson.
our other.
Yeah, I know.
She's great.
And typically, board, we normally do have an other section, but we neglected it this time, so we'll remember to put it in for next time. But now we'll move back to policy 4.1, governing style. So for new board members, this is kind of our way to reflect on how we as a board interacted with each other. We interacted with items that were on the agenda. Did we have like sidebar conversations and were rude, or were we not nice to each other and things like that? So this is our way of reflecting back on our behavior and how we ran the board meeting. So who would like to take this on? Judd, you know me do a good job.
Yes.
I thought it was a good meeting. It was a little bit confusing because sort of at the last minute it got switched to 5 o'clock. I guess not the last minute, but that I can understand Brenda Logi's challenge there. But all things considered, I think there was a robust discussion. I think the discussion on the auditor was great. I guess their presentation was so thorough there weren't a whole lot of discussions. And I look forward to the next meeting.
Great, thank you. And so Judd and Steve O is here now. So I don't know if after we adjourn the meeting, if you guys want to stay on and have a three-way conversation about your facilities meeting.
Yes,
time.
I would like to.
If you have like 5 minutes after the meeting adjourns.
Yeah.
Okay. We do not have executive session tonight. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Kim, is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Dan. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we will proceed to vote on adjourning. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion's passed. We are adjourned at 6:19. Thank you all.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Suzanne, one question.